Hey Dan, how are you?
I'm I'm doing relatively well, I suppose. How are you?
I'm doing well, I suppose too. We were talking right before this started. You and your dad were on the show talking about the premiere, which is insane.
Yeah, and we bookended. What a
We totally
wonderful
bookended it,
experience.
and I feel like you went from a show that was maybe a little unknown early on to a cult hit to a show that last year people said had been snubbed in the Emmys, and of course then you probably had a I don't know fear that would happen again, and the opposite happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think let's be honest. We went from, I mean, you were doing us a favor when you had us on your show 6 years ago because nobody was watching our show. And then slowly people ended up catching on. Yeah, I mean, I think when you're a show that is this small, and I think the fact that people are now watching it doesn't change the fact that, our budget is still the first 15 seconds of Mrs. Maisel. For us, it's like, I think when you start out that small, you will always be that small. To find out about all of the lovely Emmy news this week was truly a surprise to all of us. I mean, I had hoped that maybe my dad and Catherine would get recognized, but certainly not, what ended up happening. None of us could see that coming.
Because you also got nominated for show, you got nominated. Annie, who plays your sister, she got nominated, and 15 is just such a huge, awesome number, and yet it is a virtual ceremony this year, which you would say is kind of fitting.
I would say, like, if I could write a Schitt's Creek version of our team and the Emmys coexisting, it would have to involve some sort of, way that we would never get there. So the fact that we have 15 nominations on a year that none of us will be able to attend feels very Schitt's Creek, which is also kind of is such a lovely thing. And I hope that we'll all, I don't know really what's happening, but we're all up in Canada right now. So I'm hoping that we'll all just like have a backyard barbecue at my dad's house and, have a few beers and hope for the best.
I do want to speak to the fact this is a Canadian production, and I imagine that Canada must be incredibly proud about the reception the show received this week.
I'm really proud. Again, it's like we do this show up in Canada 3 months out of the year, and then I'm up there, in edit and post, and to see friends of mine who are, behind the scenes, who have done such unbelievable work on the show getting recognized at the Emmys. It's like the morning of the announcements, we were all just calling each other in complete disbelief. You could not ask for a better end to such a lovely story for all of us. And, our entire cast and crew started with nothing and now ended up with Emmy. I mean, it is a storybook ending.
It is, you mentioned everybody's calling, and I'm sure you were being inundated with press calls as well. Your sister, who plays a waitress on the show, she busted you on Instagram for the fact that you had not called her back.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, I guess, listen, this is very new to me, but I didn't know that when something like this happens, you have to sort of spend the morning talking to different press outlets. And literally just as I would get on the phone with someone, I would see my sister FaceTiming, and I'd have to decline. It happened like 3 times, and then finally she just texted me back. Well, she Instagrammed, and then she texted me back and was like, "If you don't pick up the phone, I will disown you." And, fortunately, we are doing well. I called her back, and she was very excited.
You mentioned a fairy tale ending. One of the things as well is that you had to make, what I'm assuming is a difficult decision on when to end a show. You guys nailed the landing, but I assume your very passionate fan base was upset that you were calling it quits. How did you weigh that decision, and are you happy with how it ended up?
We knew at season 4 that we had 2 more left, and I'm always a fan of like shows that start and finish really strong. I think for me, I'm so sensitive when I've jumped off of one too many shows to know what that's like, and I wanted to.
You mean as a viewer, you've jumped off?
Exactly. So. Yeah. For us, I think when we knew we had a 2-season pickup and 5 and 6 would be the last, it was a really nice way of building toward a conclusion that we had control over. But at the same time, I feel like our fans have become like such a lovely group of people. They've raised tens of thousands of dollars for charity. They're just so supportive. And my big concern was when we put that statement out saying that this would be our last season, I was expecting a kind of angry response from all of them, but the fans are so nice. They were like, no, that's too bad, and we're very upset, but how are you? And I was like, I don't know how it's done to deserve the kindness of these people.
It is officially the most Canadian show of all time. If even the
very
fan.
Canadian show.
You actually, there will be an absence of red carpet as we've established with the virtual Emmys. You worked the red carpet as a correspondent a few times.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that seems so stressful.
It takes a very particular person to not be soul crushed by the experience of like interviewing on a red carpet, because let's be honest, nobody on the carpet really wants to talk to anybody. So being the person that's like, well, where did you get your dress from? You're inherently not someone that the person answering that question wants to talk to. And yeah, I did it for the MTV Movie Awards, and it was like 2 hours of, red carpet. You have to prep for, you get huge binders of like actors and what they're here for. And I'm terrible at memorizing things. So for me, it was just a disaster. And the 2-hour carpet ended. And I remember kind of like walking around a corner completely dazed and like burst into tears and was like, I can't do this again. I just don't have it in me. I am not Ryan Seacrest.
You obviously a big week because of the nominations. You won a GLAAD award. Was it today?
Yeah, it has. It's situations like these that almost in the back of your mind make you think like, what terrible thing is going to befall me tomorrow? Because things have been okay. It's been a nice week. Yeah,
that must be as awards go. The GLAAD award must be a special one to win.
Yeah, I've long admired the organization and got to work with them on several occasions. And, I think to be recognized by the community is such a meaningful thing, especially because I think our show, the storylines that we explore in the show are such a love letter to the LGBTQ community. So to receive this kind of honor from GLAAD is just, is a really special thing. And, it's been a very nice day.
Well, it was an incredible show. It was such a great show about family. It was even cooler that there was such a family connection to it from the outset. And congratulations for all the accolades. They're really well deserved. And thanks for being back on the show, Dan.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.